welcome back to another episode of the Fandom United podcast. My name is Gio. Thank you so much for joining me. And boy, do I have some tea to spill. Oh man, something juicy came across my plate this week, and I cannot wait to expose this thing. But first, I hope all of you are having a great week so far, a great work week. It's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. If you're into tacos, it's a great day. If you're not, it's whatever. It's just another Tuesday. But yeah, I got some DC news to cover, some big news outside of DC to get to as well. But first, let's get into the spotlight here. And like I said earlier, something came across my plate, and I was not surprised to see this. So, some of you may be followers of a site called Rotten Tomatoes, right? For some of you, that's where you go to decide whether or not you want to see a movie. You look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, you maybe look at some reviews, and then that kind of decides for you whether you want to watch a movie or a TV show or not. Now, early on in my podcasting journey, a couple years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, I was somebody who relied heavily on Rotten Tomatoes. I was a fan of that site, and I still think to this day it's a good site to go to. Now, you don't exactly want to go and make that the deciding factor, but it's always nice to see other people's opinions as well. It's a nice community for film journalists, critics, bloggers, fans, etc. Well, over the years, I've learned that Rotten Tomatoes isn't as simple as it seems. First off, it's a review aggregation site. So the scores that you see on Rotten Tomatoes are collected from numerous film critics and their reviews, and it pretty much does a mathematic formula to decide what the score is for that movie. Some of you out there may already know this, but I'm explaining for those who don't. So the number of rotten reviews and the number of fresh reviews help decide that overall factor. So if you see like a 94% on a movie, that doesn't mean the movie is a 94% out of 100 as far as one critic. It means 94% of the people who saw the movie gave it at least a 60% or better, and the 6% gave it under. And so that's just a brief rundown of Rotten Tomatoes. Now, why am I bringing that up? Well, because over the years, there's been this suspicion that Rotten Tomato reviewers, people who are given um, the uh, the ability to post their reviews, sometimes aren't very honest about their reviews. There's a sense of missing integrity amongst this site, and something came across my Twitter feed earlier this week. Okay, and I'm going to show you it right now. Take a look at this. This is from a Rotten Tomatoes critic, and I blacked out the name because I won't expose the person. They tweeted, "We did it, guys! It's officially rotten," and they're posted a screenshot of Wonder Woman 1984 getting a 59%. Again, below 60% means it's rotten. So 59% officially made Wonder Woman 1984 at the time rotten. He's been getting called out. He's been getting called out on Twitter for this and exposing a real problem with Rotten Tomatoes. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, it's a place that you can go to and just see some opinions. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, there's still some really, really good film journalists, critics who give honest opinions, all that. So every tree has its bad apples, its rotten apples. I don't know what the saying is, but it's something along those lines. But this is a problem right here. Okay, now I'm questioning how many people actually wrote an honest review about how they felt, and some people just wrote a rotten review just to put the movie down, because even though There are many things that they liked about it. It wasn't their idea of what they had in mind for the movie. It didn't meet their expectations. And, again, by all means, state your opinion. Okay. Have an opinion about the movies. Share your opinion about the movies. Have a conversation. Conversation is more important than ever now in today's world. And that's especially true, with movies, because we're all passionate. We all love movies and whatnot. But yeah, look at this. Look at that screenshot right there. That is a problem. And I want people to be more aware of Rotten Tomatoes, what it is, and the people who are reviewing these movies. It sounds like this guy did a campaign or something and convinced his buddies to just give a rotten score. This is a problem. And the fact that it's a DC movie, look, I'm not saying people are being paid off to give DC movies a negative review, but this right here proves a point. It proves a point, and it is a problem. And this person knows what they did. And you know what? I just wanted to share this on the podcast and, make you guys aware that there are people out there who will purposefully give a rotten review just to see the movie tank. And so don't make Rotten Tomatoes your deciding factor on whether you watch a movie or not. If something interests you, regardless of what other people, say about a movie or a TV show, watch it. It's on your time. It's your investment. Okay? It's okay to have conversations, but at the end of the day, if something interests you, watch it. Have your own opinion. So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up here, Rotten Tomatoes. There's always been a split differential between um, critics and audiences. I have a couple examples here, and there's an argument that critics are so out of touch with what audiences are into these days that people don't really pay attention to critics. Here's a couple examples. This is one movie right here, Venom, that got a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, but 81% of the audiences loved it. I'm one of those 81%. I absolutely enjoyed the movie. Are there problems? Yes, there is. But this movie's not trying to be an Oscar winning movie. It is just a comic book fun movie that, has some laugh out loud moments and a couple like WTF moments that you just can't help but enjoy. Here's another example. One of my favorite rom-coms, What Happens in Vegas. Look at that differential. 26% of the critics hated it, but 65% of the audiences loved it. Again, this is a movie that isn't exactly, made for critics, as far as structure, cinematography, and all that kind of stuff. It's not trying to be that kind of movie. For what it is, fans are loving it, and so am I. Last example, Transformers, the first one. Okay, this franchise as a whole is mostly shit. The first movie, though, I love it. It has its fans, clearly. 85% audience score, 58% critics score. So, hey, if you're going to take, the Tomatoes score or anything about Rotten Tomatoes seriously, look at the audience score. Don't worry about the critics, okay? Look at the audience score. If you're going to take, something like Rotten Tomatoes, anything from Rotten Tomatoes, take anything away, audience score for sure. Well, that's all I really wanted to get into as far as Rotten Tomatoes. You guys let me know your thoughts on the site itself. What do you think? Are you surprised at what I showed you or not at all? Let me know your thoughts, and let's move on to some DC news. So a couple of weeks ago, I got to interview Mr. Sean O'Connell, who's the author of the upcoming book, Release the Snyder Cut, the story behind Zack Snyder's Justice League and the movement that made the impossible possible, and that is getting Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max this upcoming March. And he wrote an article on Cinema Blend that gives us a little bit more detail on that story, the real story behind why Zack Snyder left Justice League in 2017. And in this article is from Zack Snyder himself on his decision to leave the project back in 2017. And remember, somebody else came in, Josh Whedon, took over, and infamously with Jeff Johns and others at Warner Brothers, they reshot almost the entire movie. And what we got in 2017 was just pathetic, really. But here's a quote. I just was kind of done with it. I was in this place of knowing my family needs me more than this bullshit. And I just need to honor them and do the best I can to heal that world. I had no energy to fight the studio and fight for the movie. Literally zero energy for that. I really think that's the main thing. I think there's a different world where I stayed and kind of tried, and I'm sure I could have because every movie is a fight, right? I was used to that, but I just did not have the energy. There was no fight in me. I had been beaten by what was going on in my life, and I just didn't want to. I didn't care to. That was kind of where I was. And what he's talking about is the tragic loss of his daughter, Autumn Snyder, to a suicide. That really affected him, obviously, him being a father, a family man, and he just didn't have the energy, the will to fight against Warner Brothers to have his cut be the movie that was released in theaters. Again, this is why the book is so important, release a Snyder Cut book, because it really goes into the fight, how the fandom united to come together for a common goal, for Zack Snyder to see his vision, the charity that they did, raising the money for American Foundation of Suicide Prevention in the name of his daughter, in the name of Zack Snyder. And it's really, really worth reading. So I do encourage you to get the book. But guys, look, again, what Zack Snyder went through, both professionally and personally, and for him to be able to make his movie today, it's it's beyond words. It's truly remarkable, for that to happen. And look, Warner Brothers, they've often given him crap for his movies, for his direction, for his style. He says in his quote that he would, have to fight, not just on Justice League, but that's been well documented on Batman v Superman. And I can imagine too on Man of Steel as well. You know, Warner Brothers as a studio, they're stubborn as hell. They are very reactionary, and it almost cost this man his career. As far as big budget blockbusters are concerned in Hollywood. But now he's going to come back, and reading that quote from Mr. Sean O'Connell on Cinema Blend, it just gets me more excited for the book. It should, give everyone a little bit more of, perspective on, what this fight has been like, not for the fans, but for Zack Snyder, and what it means to him to complete this version of Justice League. That's why we're all so hyped about it. This is not just a movie, okay? This is a movement. This is, standing up for, filmmakers in Hollywood so that, their work, their art no longer gets, meddled with by the studio. And yeah, it just gets me even more excited and looking forward to both the movie and the book. So beautiful stuff, almost makes you want to shed a tear. And yeah, I can't wait for that marketing for Zack Snyder's Justice League to start. Boy, am I ready. All right. Well, speaking of Zack Snyder's Justice League, actor Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, confirmed that he will, in fact, be a part of the Zack Snyder Justice League promotion promotional tour whenever that happens, which is very interesting because on this channel, you guys, I'm sure, are aware, but if you're not, Ray Fisher has been fighting Warner Brothers, the studio that's, infamous for their DC project studio meddling and whatnot. Ray Fisher has been fighting Warner Brothers, the battle to hold certain people accountable for misconduct on those set of Justice League. There's a lot of drama that goes into that, but it's unfortunately cost Ray Fisher, at least to this point. It looks like his tenure as a cyborg character, but he will in fact be a part of the promotion for Zack Snyder's Justice League to promote the movie, to promote his cyborg character. Even though it looks like it may be the last, I'm holding out hope it isn't. But here's Ray Fisher on that subject.
Omar wants to know, am I part of press for Zack Snyder's Justice League? There's no way you can stop me from doing press for Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's no way. There's no way. So what that all looks like as far as the logistics and how those things get handled, like I said, I don't know that just yet, but I expect that there will be some significant promotion in some way.
Whew, I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. Okay. You will not stop Ray Fisher, like he said, from promoting this movie. How is Warner Brother going to react? Um, how will Walter Hamada, if at all, promote this movie, or the studio executives? It's going to be very interesting to see. Man, and like I said, if he kills it as Cyborg in Justice League, whoo, man, there is going to be a calling, and Warner Brothers is going to have an interesting dilemma on their hands. They already have one, but it could get a lot worse. All right, so let's get into a segment that I call In Other News, which is news outside of the world of DC that I find particularly interesting. And this one's a pretty big one. Harry Potter, the property, could be getting a live action series on HBO Max. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter, and I have a quote in their article. Expanding the world of Harry Potter remains a top priority for HBO Max and Warner Brothers, which, along with creator J.K. Rowling, controls rights to the property. Harry Potter is one of Warner Brothers' most valuable pieces of IP. Duh. I mean, come on now. It's Harry Potter. 8 movies, 9 movies, 10 movies, and counting. Billions of dollars at the box office. Well-beloved franchise. No surprise here. HBO Max is doing something. I fully expected them to. Hell, Prime Video is doing something for Lord of the Rings, a series on their streaming service. So it's nice to get reconfirmations, of Harry Potter getting a live action series on HBO Max. I'm excited for it. I've said it before. I need to see, if you're going to do something involving Professor Snape, you need to get Adam Driver as a young Professor Snape. I'm all for it. Perfect casting. Adam Driver, best part of the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. That needs to happen. But I'm interested to see. I'm not too familiar with Harry Potter. Like, I'm not an expert. I've seen the movies. What do you guys want to see on HBO Max as far as the Harry Potter live action series? I'm curious what your thoughts are. It's exciting news. Just more content. More content. That's what it comes down to. Well, that'll just about do it for me. Thank you so much for joining me on the Fandom United podcast. You guys can find me on Twitter at Grey Goose Jedi. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the subscription. Again, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I did an interview with Sean O'Connell. You can find that on the channel. If you want to learn more, please do pre-order his book. And check it out. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks again. I'll see you guys towards the end of the week with another episode. Until then, be safe.